What's up guys, Cloudie here, checking in from the America server, and this is gonna be a video about NPC heroes, like a generic guide about what they are, how you can get them, and what they are good for. Originally I wanted to make this video around the 1000 days anniversary of the game, fully expecting that Jin will be released then, but Vespa pulled a trick on me and he wasn't released, so not gonna wait any longer. Let's just do it now. Now, what are NPC heroes? In most games, NPC stands for non-playable character. In King's Raid, this actually means a sort of premium character that you can meet here in Orwell or other parts of the game. For instance, Man Lumen, Veronica, Glut, Nikki, Juno from the town, they are all NPC heroes. Now you could call them premium heroes, as I said, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they are actually stronger than the other heroes. It's just that they take premium currency to obtain. Normally you can get presents from Jin, which will give you around 16,000. So I believe this gives you yeah, so this should give you 6,000. This will give you 10,000, so you get 16,000 if you buy out all of these. That means, and you need 100,000 to gain friendship with an NPC hero by giving them gifts. So it will take you roughly 6 to 7 weeks to obtain one or to get their weapons, as you need to give them these gifts as well. You can also buy boxes from the shop, which I believe is somewhere between 25 to 30,000 rubies to get one level. So either to get the hero, or once you have the hero, to get their unique weapon, which is tied to the same presenting system. So this means it's actually a bit harder to rank these guys up or to get their unique weapons up. But you can do it more focused than with, say, pulling for unique weapons. Now, without further ado, let's just get into who these heroes are, what they do, and whether they are worth building or what they are good for. And I'm gonna start with Pensee Ron because Vespa said that she is an NPC hero, although she doesn't have any of the usual NPC mechanics, so she just gets a mention so you guys aren't confused. But yeah, she doesn't really act like an NPC. Second up, I'm gonna show Kane, whom you get for free along with his unique weapon and his soul weapon as well once you clear chapter 6 and do his story missions, which unlocks the trial of the king, trials of the king, and the eclipse mode, and along with that the soul weapon stuff. So he is someone you get for free. He has one of these um, NPC buffs where he buffs your team actually when you're doing eclipse mode, so that's pretty nice. And he can be used in any stages that have multiple stages, as he gets stronger with each stage, and he has some PvP uses. And also you get him for free, so that's kinda nice. You only need to spend on him if you want to up his weapon. Being a DPS, he kinda needs to have a high weapon, but even at a lower investment, he's pretty good. And I said he can be used in PvP too. Now, the other NPC heroes are not for free, so let's just check who they are. The game conveniently puts them together. And I'm gonna start with perhaps the least useful one, although she is my actually one of my favorite waifus in the game because I think her art is pretty gorgeous and she's not a minor, which kind of helps. So Nikki is from the Stockade, and she's a warrior. Now her blessing is Nikki's blessing is absolutely terrible. You get one more run at the Stockade. Once you have your books, this is really not good. Vespa even joked about this when saying that during the 1000 days anniversary that Nikki was giving you a gift, and she's like saying, "Don't worry, it's not a book." But yeah, so her buff is pretty terrible, and her use is very limited. She can be used in PvP as a bruiser, kind of tank CC counter unit, but she does need some investment to do so. anything that does DPS will need a high unique weapon. You can see I don't even have hers, and as such, she is not terribly useful. Also, she has very limited use in PvE. No real good comps use her on anything except Trial of Earth. So the Knight and Warrior trial, where she is kind of mandatory because if you're running a physical team, because she has a skill that reduces um, the block chance of the boss and is tied to one of its mechanics. So all in all, Nikki, very edge case use if you want to build her for PvP or something. Otherwise, I do not recommend actually getting her. On to the next one. And this is Hanus, who was also recently added to the game. She is the Guild War officer, and she gives a buff to your Guild War. I believe she increases attack speed for your other characters in Guild War, which is not really that great, but whatever. She is also a DPS who can be used both in PvE and PvP. I do not see that many comps with her in PvP, but she can be built to be a pretty strong DPS in PvE. There are like Valkazar comps that use her, and I've seen her being quite effective on world bosses as well. But also on some content, she has already been like power creeped by, say, Pensee Ron, who was just released. The good thing about her that on top of the usual gifts that you can give to heroes, you can also go to your guild shop and use your coins that you get from Guild War to buy gifts for her. So this way, if you buy these wargaming sets, you can get for quite a low price, you can get 5,000 points. This means that getting her unique weapon up is a lot easier than with other heroes. So if you want to focus up an NPC hero and have a high DPS AoE unit, then she could be good. She can work both as AoE and a single target. So that's one thing to bear in mind. Her buff is a bit so-so, but she's one of the easiest to build NPC heroes, and you can really focus her weapon. So you could have a high unique weapon hero in her. Okay, so these were the fairly easy choices. Um, let's go on with who we have. Who else do we have as NPC heroes? The first one to release was actually May, who is a priest and a buffer, and she's quite alright at that role. Her blessing is that she makes buying stuff at her shop cheaper, so you spend less gold, which is, well, it's not that important really because you do not buy that much stuff from her in the first place. Um, she works very well in magic comps in PvE, although she is kind of being power creeped by other stuff, but her soul weapon is quite nice, so she might have a comeback. Um, I do not know of any um, PvP comps that are really serious and use her, so maybe a bit so, not quite recommended to go for her unless you really need her in a specific comp, like for Valkazar or one of the world bosses that you use her on. Also, as I said, she works better with magic comps. Now she has a counterpart, Juno, who is um, also a healer and a buffer. But while May works mostly with magic comms, Juno works a lot better with physical comms due to her skills. Both of these priests actually scale pretty well with their unique weapons, which you can see I don't have for Juno right now, and but they can function without or just at a low level. Generally speaking, most of the buffers work with a low investment, while DPS needs a high unique weapon, so that's something to bear in mind. Juno's blessing is making stuff cheaper at the inn where she resides, so you can buy items for your amity points, your friendship points a bit cheaper. It's not worth getting her just for that, but she's a very good generalist healer who has both a cleanse and a dispel, and she has shields and buffs and debuffs. So generally she is really good as a generalist and works really well with physical comps, and she can be used in PvP, mostly in tankish, bruiserish type of teams. because she is pretty good at keeping your stuff alive while also harassing the enemy team. All in all, also she has a very nice art. She's just getting a new costume next week, so or next week, it's actually tomorrow. Uh, so yeah, she is pretty nice, good for physical comps. Okay, let's move on. Who else do we have who is an NPC hero? Also a fairly recent one is Dosarta, the elven princess, the little sister of Selene. She's a tank who is mostly working with magic comps and PvP. She doesn't really have that much to her, but she does really well actually in PvP due to her um, immunity skills and CC. And the good news is that she doesn't need her unique weapon. Actually, she only really needs it for PvP. She's perfectly fine in PvP, PvE without it. Um, and her blessing is that you get more fragments when you run the Tower of Challenge, where you get the artifact fragment. So that's a pretty good blessing. It makes you get artifacts faster. That's always a good thing too, but they are just too random. Also, she's pretty cute and a clutch, and you get to see lots of fancy shots from her. So Vespa did their usual thing. I quite recommend her. She's a fun character to have, and she's very useful if you're running a magic comp. Now her counterpart is one of the most meta heroes today, and that's Lumen. Lumen is a physical tank who buffs physical damage. I mean, she sorry, he buffs physical damage and protects against magical damage. And his shield is pretty OP. That's why you see most of the Lumen builds in PvP. It not only cleanses all the CC and stuff from your entire team, but it also gives a shield that absorbs damage and makes them immune to CC. This is one of the strongest shields in the game, only comparable to Phrase, who can actually not cleanse with it. So yeah, Lumen pretty strong. His blessing is that items in his shop in the Royal Vault become cheaper. So if you are doing world bosses and want to buy those artifacts to buff your teams, he is definitely a good investment. And if you're running a physical team and need an anti-magic tank, he is pretty good and he can be used both in PvE and PvP. All in all, solid investment. Works best with a higher unique weapon, but he can manage with a low one or without a unique weapon at all. It's just when you are min-maxing, you want to have him at a higher investment too. Okay, what else do we have? We have Veronica, also one of the early NPCs. She's a wizard who is really good at buffing boss damage. Lately, she has kind of been power creep. For instance, Esker has taken over her role. You don't see her in that many comps anymore. And yeah, so she isn't that great all in all nowadays. Her unique weapon gives her a bit more damage, but she isn't really a damage dealer. She's more about her buff than actually dealing damage herself. So you can get by with a low investment on her. Her blessing, however, is pretty nice. It makes all the stuff in the guild shop cheaper. This includes all three, so the guild raid, the guild war, and the generic guild shop. This is pretty good. So if nothing else, she's worth just for the blessing. And then you can either choose to use her or to not use her at all. And finally, we have Cloudie, who was the second NPC hero to be released, and I believe his blessing is the best one. He gives a 10% bonus to the unique weapon shop from the arena, so you need to spend 10% less points on your weapons. On the long run, this is really worth it. Now, Cloudie himself, being a DPS, means he needs a high investment on his unique weapon to be really useful. He has ignored defense mechanics, which can be useful both in PvE and PvP. Actually, I just got wrecked by a challenger Cloudie user earlier today. That really hurt. He just one-shotted most of my characters, so meh. But as said, he needs high investment, and while he can be used in PvE, for instance, one of the Guild Conquest bosses, in most of the times there are better overall damage dealers than him, so I wouldn't exactly recommend building him unless you really like a cat fighter arena guy thing. But his buff is really worth getting, so if nothing else, I recommend that. And with that, unless I forgot someone, that should be all the NPC heroes. Um, yeah, I believe we covered everyone. So that's what we have right now. Vespa is probably gonna release these more of the guys you can see in the guild halls and in Orville and other locations at some point, because these are pretty good money for them, I believe. All in all, they can be really good at what they do, but they do need some investment. The buffers and the tanks can run with a lower one, but if you want to build a DPS, maybe except for Hanus, you really do need to spend a lot of either time or actual money on them. But the good thing is that with the NPC boxes, there is no RNG involved, so you can hyper focus one character, and if that's your goal, you can build one up using most of your resources. So that might be a strategy that you can follow. That's it basically. These are all the NPC heroes for now. I hope this generic guide was useful to you, and in the future I will try to make a more in-depth one for each of them. Until then, leave your comments below if you have any questions. Let me know which one of the NPCs your favorite is, which one you would like to hear more about. And yeah, I'll see you in the next video, guys. Cloudie out. Bye bye.